Welcome. You're tuned to the Urban Affairs program. It's time to get up for Urban Perspectives with your host, Pete Rhodes.
Welcome. You're watching Urban Perspectives. This episode is sponsored in part by Olu Center and BMA Networks. I'm your host, Pete Rhodes. On this program, we'll continue our Diversity at Work series with a spotlight on Minnesota, featuring the state's 40th Governor, Mark Dayton. We'll devote the entire program to highlight Minnesota's growth in jobs, education, healthcare, social justice, the diversity and inclusion, and we'll also discuss with Governor Dayton ideas for solutions to the notable disparities to enable all Minnesotans to experience the vibrancy and the opportunities in Minnesota. This is all happening on this edition of Urban Perspectives. For most of the past 37 years, Mark Dayton has served Minnesotans as the Commissioner of Departments of Economic Development, as well as Energy, State Auditor, and as a United States Senator. He was elected Governor of Minnesota in 2011 and re-elected in 2014. Our first segment looks at the growth in Minnesota's economy. Here's a fact. Under the Dayton administration, Minnesota has added nearly 200,000 new jobs. In 2015, CNBC Annual Business Rating for States listed Minnesota as America's top state for business, receiving the highest overall score for economy, workforce, education, transportation, cost of living, cost of doing business, capital access, and the quality of life. How did we do this? Here's Governor Dayton in his own words.
Previous generations of Minnesotans and other Americans faced graver dangers than we do today. They summoned their collective knowledge, courage, and resolve. They persevered, and they prevailed by working together. All of us want and need a state that works better than today. A better Minnesota for all of us depends upon all of us.
Please welcome to Urban Perspectives, Governor Mark Dayton. Thank you for being here, Governor.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right into it. We've got the whole segment that we're going to use to talk about the story of Minnesota and what has been done over the past few years. Governor, you've taken a $6 billion deficit and turned it into a $2 billion surplus for our state in the past few years. What do you attribute that to, in particularly with the downturn that the rest of the nation was experiencing?
Well, the credit really belongs to the people of Minnesota. You know, we have a diverse economy, and businesses were expanding, and as the economy started to improve and creating new jobs, and frankly, our challenge now is that we don't have enough workers for the people out there looking to hire additional people. But you know, we also raised taxes on the wealthiest 2% of Minnesotans. That strengthened our state's budget situation. But again, the real credit belongs to people of our state.
Yeah. So now, when we look at our state, which has high ratings overall, what systems are in place, do you think, that will help to ensure that the workforce, as you talked about there, can be developed stronger and maintain the high ratings that we have now?
Well, you know, we have an increasingly diverse population, and we have a whole lot of people coming to Minnesota from other states, other countries, and that's going to be the growth in our workforce. So if we want our economy to continue to expand and benefit everybody, we have to find better ways to assimilate new people coming to Minnesota and giving them the skills that they need so they can be productive workers and entrepreneurs and successful citizens.
Well, when we look at the overall ratings of our state, which is high across the board, we do see a glaring disparity in the overall home ownership as well as economic surplus or economic development in the African American community. In fact, the U.S. Census just reported that over the past 2 years, the African American income has dropped by 14%. How do you think we can move forward as a state with major businesses in our state as well to change this disparity around in short order?
Well, we need to double down on diversity, and I take that as one of my primary responsibilities for the remainder of my second term. You know, it's just really unacceptable as you said, with our economy improving overall and with unemployment rate for white Minnesotans less than 3%, that the unemployment rate among African Americans is 5 times that. It's just unacceptable, and I'm going to go to the business community. I've been meeting with regional directors, presidents of the NAACPs around the state, talk about how can we get everybody in Minnesota to realize whatever we're doing now, it's not enough.
What would you say to those, Governor, who say the community may need a stimulus or could use a stimulus like one that was proposed for the Mille Lacs Lake and the fishermen in those areas? Well,
we have 4 months until the legislature returns, and given what I expect will be a budget surplus, and given the recognition now of this disparity and what we have to do more in order to reduce it, I really expect the legislature to step in and respond. I'll have a series of proposals, and that's one of the reasons we're meeting with leaders throughout the state, so we can find out what's needed, what we need to do more of, and to come in with a legislative package that'll address that.
That's great. So as Minnesota and the nation experiences higher growth in the minority populations, how can we take advantage of that moving forward so that, again, we can create more opportunities for everyone, you think?
Well, I think we have that growth. We have an in immigration of people from other countries, from other parts of this country, because people realize that we have opportunity here. We have a better opportunity here than many other parts of the country and certainly the world. So, we have a lot on our hands, and when I was growing up, Minnesota's minority population was relatively small. Now, we have over 100 different languages and dialects spoken in Minnesota schools. So, we have a real need to expand our effectiveness of our assimilation of people and the diversity that we want and need for continued economic growth.
Okay, well, thank you, Governor. You stay right there. We've got a little bit more that we're going to talk about. But first, weekly here on Urban Perspectives, we present Shining Stars, highlighting people, places, and events that contribute to the vibrancy of the urban communities. This is sponsored by Olu Center, and this week we take a look at the National MBA Association's Leaders of Tomorrow's program that prepares African American high school students for leadership in college, careers, and community. Now, meet the brother and sister members of the Leaders of Tomorrow, Praise and Tim Mafe.
My name is Praise Mafe, and I am a graduate from Blaine High School.
Hello, I'm Tim Mafe. I'm a freshman at Blaine High School.
LOT stands for Leaders of Tomorrow, and it's part of the National Black MBA Association, and it's for youth. And basically, the Leaders of Tomorrow program is to get young students involved in being young professionals involved in business, getting them up to that next level, having that full potential, and just keeping their eyes focused on achievement.
Well, I got introduced into it by my sister. She realized that I was actually interested in business, that as being Nigerian, they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer, but I was just like, I want to pursue business. And she introduced me into this program. So I was just like, why don't I try it? I tried it out, and after that, I loved it. I was very nervous at first because it was a bunch of older kids, considering that they're all high schools, a lot of seniors, and I was only an 8th grader. But as I progressed, I saw me growing into the program, and I realized that business was really for me. It has given me lots of confidence to talk in front of lots of people. And also, it has given me knowledge within business. I've actually started my own business after being in LOT, and I realized that I love numbers, I love finances, and I know this was for me.
It helped me realize that business is not easy, but it's something that I'm looking forward to. Recently, I just came from a conference in Houston, Texas, and that was all of the students and leaders of tomorrow, and it just showed me that there's Black excellence out there that sometimes we do not see. And that just encouraged me that I need to keep on pushing in order to be like everyone else that I saw. I'm Praise Mafe. I'm a graduate of LOT and a freshman at the University of Minnesota.
Hi, I'm Tim Mafe, a freshman at Blaine High School and a member of the LOT program.
And you're watching Urban Perspectives.
Thank you so much, Praise and Tim. When we return, we'll spotlight Minnesota's educational successes and also explore the disparities and proposed solutions to close the glowing and growing achievement gap for Minnesota's next generation. It's here with Governor Dayton on Urban Perspectives.
There's a place you can go, no matter the age or the skin that shows.
We're here for you, only you. Seniors and kids come along and join in.
Finally, a place where our children and seniors can interact and learn from one another. Olu Center is opening a new child care and senior day program.
For more information or to register, call 612-824-1142.
That's Olu Center, where different generations come together. Hey!
My name's Reggie. Just recently, my wife and I took in her sister's children. Now, we already had 4, so I went from becoming a family man to a man with a bigger family. Now, you can't eat love, so I don't know how I'm gonna feed them tonight. How was that, Rich?
I think I look more like Denzel.
That's cold, man.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Everything about you, yeah, you are perfect to me.
This is the comeback. Comeback, comeback.
Welcome back to Urban Perspectives with our guest, Governor Mark Dayton. In this segment, we'll look at the growth in Minnesota's education and healthcare category. Here's a fact. Minnesota was one of the first states to create its own healthcare exchange, MNsure. It is ranked #1 in child well-being, second as the state most fit in the country, second in the education category, and fourth in the percentage of the population with a high school diploma or higher. Governor Dayton, since you first came into office, you and the legislature since 2001 have worked annually to increase funding for K through 12 education. What do you expect to happen from this investment?
Well, I think it'll give all kids a better opportunity to be successful in later life, but especially we want to focus on kids from disadvantaged backgrounds and give them the educational tools starting younger and younger that they can overcome some of the other challenges that they face and also be successful contributors to our society. And that's why I've really focused the last, first all-day kindergarten. We now have that statewide. We didn't before. Now I want to bring that down to 4-year-olds and have universal pre-K so that all of our children can have the best start in their lives.
Well, last year, 2015, you and the legislature invested $524 million in E through 12 education, more for students, per students, more for facility improvement, more for learning in English as well as American Native Indians. What can we expect from that investment overall, you think, in terms of the outcome for the future?
Well, better educated young people and then adults. You know, that's the #1 reason that the businesses locate and expand in Minnesota. They tell me over and over. So we need to continue to have the best educated workforce anywhere in the world. And if we do, we'll generate the economic success. We need to fund everything else we want to do.
Now, according to the U.S. Department of Education as well, Governor, Minnesota has one of the nation's highest educated population, as we've talked about. But at the same time, minorities, there's an educational gap there. The minorities is one of the largest in the nation in terms of the gap in terms of education. And How do we close that, even with the investments that we've put into education year after year? What do you think we will do or need to do?
Well, clearly the facts show that we're not doing enough. And particularly the experts say we need to get the young people from disadvantaged backgrounds in quality education, learning experiences younger and younger ages. So, you know, we funded scholarships for quality child care. So it's not just keeping children safe, it's also educating them from birth through 4 years old, and then now with all-day universal kindergarten, they have that opportunity there. But we really need to expand that and include 4-year-olds. We have 47,000 4-year-olds in Minnesota, and all of them would benefit from having a quality of pre-kindergarten experience. And then from ages 0 to 3, we need to provide the kind of additional education and exposure that young people from disadvantaged backgrounds need if they're going to close that achievement gap before it even begins.
Yeah. As a former teacher yourself, I believe you taught 9th grade. How did that impact you, and what do you think today's teachers are how are they rated in your mind?
Well, having been a teacher for 2 years in a ghetto school in New York City, I realized how challenging it is, and especially reaching a diverse student population. So I have enormous respect for teachers that are dedicated to their profession, who really care about kids. They're not in it to get rich. They're in it because they want to provide something better for other people's kids and maybe for their own. And that's what we need to encourage. We need to give them the tools and resources so that they can be more and more successful.
Yeah, for sure. Now, switching over to healthcare for a moment here, Governor, the Department of Health has developed a new plan to lower infant mortality rate, which is highest among minority communities. How do you think this new plan will help with the understanding and educating those citizens that are most affected? And regarding health care and selecting of health care policies, what do you think we need to do to educate that community more as well for outreach?
Well, a lot of it is education, Pete, as you said. A lot of it is teaching expectant mothers, what they're getting into, what they need to do from the very beginning to make their children as healthy as possible. Everything is interrelated. You have income disparities, job disparities, education disparities, health disparities. It all piles on top of itself and creates this composite where we have this real injustice in Minnesota that people, because of color, are given less opportunities and have less good health care, have educational achievement gaps and the like. So we need to attack each one of them, and we need to make sure that we're having prenatal care, early childhood health care, and the like, and that everyone has access to quality health care.
Yeah. Well, a lot needs to be done, but as you sit back and look at it now, Governor, in the brief time we have in this segment, do you think a lot is being done?
I think not enough is being done. We just need to double down on diversity and recognize what we're doing. Things that are working, we need to do more of. Things that are not working, we need to replace with things that are.
You think people are listening to you?
At 5:30 on a Sunday morning, I hope so.
Well, let's hope so as well.
You're listening, community leaders like you. That's what makes it really essential. People aren't always listening. They have their own lives to lead. So it's up to us to lead and do what we know is necessary to improve everybody's lives.
Well, great. Well, stay right where you are. We've got another segment. We're going to talk about some of the amazing things that are happening in our state, and we really appreciate you being here, Governor Mark Dayton.
Thank you.
When we return, hear how Governor Dayton's latest efforts hope to impact social justice and state policy to create a level playing field and respect for all citizens, next on Urban Perspectives.
There's a place you can go, no matter the age or the skin that shows.
We're here for you, all of you. Seniors and kids, come along and join in.
Finally, a place where our children and seniors can interact and learn from one another. Olu Center is opening a new child care and senior day program.
For more information or to register, call 612-824-1142.
That's Olu Center, where different generations come together. Hey!
Okay. It's kind of... We need to take him to the doctor.
I think we should wait. Without insurance, it'll cost us.
It's not about that.
I know it isn't. I'm just saying.
Maybe we should just call your mom.
MNsure is a free service that lets you compare health plans. In-person or phone assistance is available, and most people qualify for financial help. Because we all deserve care we can afford.
What if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Thank you for joining us here on Urban Perspectives with Governor Mark Dayton for our Diversity at Work series, Spotlight with Minnesota. Here's a fact. Governor Dayton has increased the racial diversity of African American, Hispanic, and female judges by 63% to ensure the state better reflects cultural, racial, and gender diversity in Minnesota. In addition, he's created the Governor's Diversity and Inclusion Council to develop strategies to overcome state disparities in employment, state contracts, and civil engagement. I guess the next question I'd like to ask you, Governor Dayton, is how did that concept come up for the Diversity and Inclusion Council, and how does it really work?
Well, I like to believe that I've had a lifelong commitment to social justice and recognizing the disparities that existed when I took office. We just felt compelled to really focus on that and lead by example in state government in terms of hiring minorities, and we've made some real progress there. We have more that we need to do, but we're working on that as well. With judges, I'm very proud of having appointed more Hispanic judges than all my predecessors combined, increased the number of African American judges, Hmong judges. I mean, so that people who are in the judicial system, when they walk into a courtroom, have a better chance of seeing somebody who looks like them.
That's important. It's so important. Now, as we end, it's just the first year of the Diversity and Inclusion Council. How effective has the work that they've done been to improve, you think, the overall workforce, state contracts, and the such?
Well, we have a great leader, Catherine Troyer, and she has worked very hard and make the commissioners, agency heads aware of their responsibilities. I think we gathered a lot of momentum. We're increasing the state contracting for minority businesses and firms, and we're going to continue to push hard on that, and I think we'll see even greater results in the future.
Since 2011, you have appointed 95 judges in the 10 judicial districts of the state of Minnesota, in the appeals court as well as the Supreme Court. How would these, you talked earlier, is it important for individuals who show up at court to possibly see someone that looks like them behind the bench, but how do you think these efforts to combat the persistent racial disparity will actually work?
Well, I think the more we have people from different backgrounds who are leading the judicial process, the more attuned they'll be to these disparities and sensitive they'll be to the needs of those that are coming into that system, and more empathetic with what their life situations have been. We have diversion courts now for DUIs, for veterans, for others. We need to recognize that the people have life experiences which have shaped some of their dysfunctional behavior, and that we need to do everything we can to redeem them, so that they're not just coming back into society and repeating that kind of behavior. And I think we've made some significant strides there. I think there's a lot more we need to do, but I think we're on the right track.
I know we had Judge Pam Alexander on, who talked about the importance of her in her position as a tenured judge to kind of give insight as well to others on the bench to that exact matter that you just spoke of. So I think as well it's important that we continue that upswing in terms of appointments in that area, and it should help.
Well, it's one of my priorities, and we made progress so far. Judge Alexander and others are great mentors for new judges coming into the courts, and we have a real outreach program now so that minority lawyers and others are aware of the opportunities to be judges, and we're going to continue to push that. And again, we have more progress to be made, but we've made a big step forward.
Speaking of which, you've met with the people with the Black Lives Matters and other organizations who point to the disparities in social justice in our communities. What are the goals, do you think, Governor Dayton, overall in your mind's eye to decreasing the injustice disparities that we see from the social justice standpoint? You spoke to it throughout the entire show, but in closing, what is your full vision?
I want every child born in Minnesota or coming to Minnesota to have the same opportunities that others have. I want them to have access to quality education from a very young age, so they're learning outside the home what they may not be learning inside the home, so that the time they come into the social system with schools and churches and social organizations, they have the same set of tools, skills, and opportunities to succeed and excel. Yeah. And then we'll have a state that's working for everybody.
Well, we want to thank you for being here and giving us an overview of what it is that the state has done and what the state will do moving forward. Of course, we have naysayers out there, validly so, who speak to the disparities. And we want to thank you for being upfront about what it is that we are experiencing as a state and what it is that we need to do as a state moving forward.
I want to thank you, Pete, for your terrific leadership and bringing these issues before your viewers.
Well, we thank you so much for being here on this morning to talk with our viewers. And Governor Mark Dayton, we wish you all the best as you move forward.
Thank you, Pete.
Right. Thank you for watching Urban Perspectives, Diversity at Work Spotlight with Governor Dayton. Minnesota's success belongs to everyone. In closing, I like to say, and everyone must work to end its disparities to ensure that everyone receives their equitable share. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Olu Center, and you, the audience, for joining us here on Urban Perspectives. And until next week, visit our website at urbanperspectives.tv for information and links. And you can also post your comments on our Facebook page. And remember, there are so many amazing people and positive stories in our cities. Watch for them right here on Urban Perspectives. And until next week, I'm Pete Rhodes, your host. Thank you for joining us. Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks so much for